engineering department, and he's my good friend. So he's working as a assistant professor in School of Computer and System Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Professor Ratneshwar has 14 years of teaching and research experience. His area of work is software engineering and computer network. He has several national international research papers to his credit. So now I invite you, sir, to kindly
Okay.
share your screen and enlighten us with your lecture.
Okay.
Ratneshwar, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hers. So, so is the slides are visible to you? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Slides are visible to all.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so here I am going to share some thought here, this architecture level simulation techniques here. Okay, so here if we discuss this topic here, so here we have this two important thing. The first thing, architecture level, and here is the simulation techniques. So first here if we go for the simulation techniques here, so the we have to simulate that model so that we can choose the some better option here. And here that we apply this simulation techniques here as the architecture level. So here when we say this architecture, so here I especially talk about the software architecture here. Since here I am in computer science field, so here my emphasis is here on the software architecture. Now here the first question here is that why we require here this simulation technique at the architecture level. So here if we generally talk about this software development life cycle, so here we have this requirement analysis phase, then we have the feasibility study, then here comes to this architectural design, then software components, software development and testing and development. So here, if you take a simple example of a library management system, that suppose that I have to develop a software for a library management system, which is very simple example. So first we go for the requirement analysis. That what is the requirement of that particular software? So what is the requirements means that who will be the user, and here who will use this particular type of the software, and what type of the, you can say, this person will involve in that software, what type of the facility we want to give to that particular software, and so on. So here first this process will start from the requirement analysis. Then here we will go for the feasibility study. Here we will check that whether the required software can be developed with the given resources or not. So these resources, that may be the time resources, that may be this budget resources, or that may be the infrastructure resources. Means whatever the software that are proposed to be developed, that can be developed here into this given uh, time limit, or this given budget, or the given infrastructure. Then here we come for this architecture design, that here once the feasibility study is over, then we go for the architecture design here, that we design the architecture of a particular software that we discuss later. And then once the architecture is complete, then we go for the software development phase, that we develop that software. And once the development phase is over, then we go for the software testing phase. Here, when we go for the software testing phase, so we test the functionality of the software and test for the overall testing of that software. And if there is anything that is not appropriate, again here the request will come from the testing phase here to this requirement analysis phase. So suppose that here we had developed any functionality after architectural design, that here that are coded here into the development phase, and during the testing phase, if we got to know any problem, that like here this particular function there is the f, and this particular function is not working properly, so again here this request will be sent here to this requirement analysis phase, and again here this whole cycle will be repeated. So here, if we go to this general software development cycle here, so any type of the shortcomings here we can identify here at the testing level. And here you can see, if you see this particular picture, so testing comes after these 4 phases. Means here we are able to diagnose the error into the later phase. So here the terms come that if we perform here this some type of the testing concept here at the architecture level, so if there are the some inappropriate functionality, or if there are the some functional or the non-functional error, so that can be diagnosed here at the architecture level. And here if we diagnose any error, so again here this requirement can be sent here into the requirement analysis. So to diagnose some error here at the early stage, just like as the architecture design, here is very much useful as compared to that here if we go to diagnose the error at the testing phase. So here this is the one thing that we always say, that when we say the simulating something, so simulating that we have the some option and we are trying which one option is better. So here again, if we got everything at the testing phase, so here we have to travel a lot of the phases, and here again we have to go back here. But here if we are able to identify the things here as the architecture level, so here things can early be diagnosed and things can early be improved here. So this is why here this importance of this architecture level simulation techniques here. Now here come to this, what the general meaning of here this architecture that we know, that when we say this architecture here, so here what we say, that here we have these components, we have the some component here, and here we have the relationship between those components, that are the general definition of the architecture. Okay, so here we can say we have the some component and there is the some relationship between those components here. So here the idea is that if we want to understand the system at the initial level, so at the initial level we do not have the very much detail of the software system. So basically we have the components, that what are the major components that involve in a system and what are their relationship and how they interact with each other. Okay, so here we have to understand the property of this component and property of this component, this property of the component also, and also the property, the behavior of their interrelationship. That here if we say that if we have this one component, we have this another component, so only the properties of individual component is not here you can say this sufficient. You also have to understand that how they relate with each other. Okay, here suppose that if you take the very general example, that suppose that if you go for this architecture of a house here, and here you make it, here is the kitchen and here you make here is the bathroom. So it might be possible that kitchen is working very fine, bathroom is working very fine, but here suppose that there is the some vastu rule that kitchen cannot be adjacent to this bathroom. So here is what those components are working properly, but their interrelationships are not working properly. So that's why this only understanding the properties of the component is not sufficient. We also have to understand their relationships also. So here this architecture helps stakeholders understand and analyze that how the system will achieve essential qualities such as modifiability, availability or security. Again here if you take example of farming of your house, that is a very common example in this software architecture, this architecture here, that here this architecture of a home that is you are going to construct. So suppose that here this is the opening gate, here you just made is this is the, you can see this one room, here this is this another room, this is this another bedroom, and here you can say that this is the some type of the kitchen, this is the some common area, and these are the some other area. You just develop a architecture. Now here the question is that whether the architecture is secure or not. That one thing is that you have developed a house, that here there are the some component and their relationship. So here we can say this is the gate, this is the bedroom, this is the kitchen, this is the bathroom, this is the dining room and drawing room. So all you have fitted here. But here if you say that whether this particular architecture is secure or not, so here you have to check this particular architecture according to the security parameters. Like suppose that one very simple parameter is that कि अगर आप एक घर बनाते हैं, so जो भी आपका entrance point होता है, that should be visible from most of the rooms, so that if any person come or enter into the room, so from any particular room you can identify that which one is coming. So here you will check that whether your architecture satisfy this criteria or not. So at the initial level, you can check that whether this particular architecture satisfy the security criteria, that satisfy the modifiability criteria, or that satisfy the availability criteria, or there are some other type of the non-functional property. So here this architecture here you can also check that here this is the functional relation, that how the component related to each other. And at the initial level, you can also check the non-functional properties like the modifiability, availability, security, and the other features here. Now, if we go for the formal definition of a software architecture, so the software architecture of a program or computing system is the structure, or here you can say the structure of the systems, which comprise the software components, the externally visible properties of those components, and relationships among them. Here this means here that only if we draw, that I told you earlier, that only if we draw that here this is this box and line drawing, that is not only architecture. We have to understand the behavior of a component, and here this behavior of this interrelationship. So here, when we say the software architecture, so here these are the main component of a software architecture. The first thing is that we must have clear our business strategy, that for what purpose we are developing this particular software. The business strategy here is the simple example, that suppose that if you are developing any particular software for this nuclear energy of India, or the some government organizations, so you have to give more emphasis on the security. But here if you make the software for a general purpose, so this accessibility and here this timing constants are the more important. So here you have to choose that what is the business strategy for your architecture. Then here once the this business strategy you have chosen, then you go for the design. You can also check it for this quality attribute like the security, etc. Then here you check it for the IT environment, that whatever the IT environment it requires. And then, is there any question? Okay, so here this IT environment, and then last you have to go for the human dynamics, that what type of the human expertise which are needed for this particular system. Okay, now here this is an example of this architecture. So this architecture here is known as the three-tiered client-server architecture. So this property we talk about this modifiability, that if we develop the architecture, so that architecture should be modifiable, means we can make the modification in the system. So here this is the example of a modifiable architecture, that here this whole components are divided here into this three layer. So if you take a very simple example of a railway reservation system, so what happened into the railway reservation system, that here you make this reservation from the client side. Here this query is going to be processed, and here if we have to extract some data, so the data can be extracted from the database. So here you can see there is a complete separation between all the three layers, that this client layer as the separate phase, query processing here in the different phase, and here we can say this database here as the third layer. So here this architecture is the modifiable architecture, that if we make any modification in the database, so this modification will not be affect any features of this layer. If we are making changes at this layer, so this will not affected here into the client layer. And in the same thing, that if we are making any changes here in the client level, so that will not be affected into the other two layers. So here this is what, that the architecture level, at the architecture level, we can decide this thing, that our architecture should be secure, our architecture should be modifiable, or what the other properties that we wanted to include in our architecture definition. Now this architectural style here, that a style that may be thought of as a set of constraints on an architecture, okay, and an abstraction for a set of related architectures here. So there are various styles for the architecture. The some are mentioned here, that one is the client server architecture, that here we have this server and here we have this one or many client. So if we have the requirement that we require this client server architecture, then we will have this type of the architecture. There are the some cooperating processes, like here we have this one process, here we have this another process here, and all these particular processes are cooperating to each other. There may be the one possibility of the architecture here. Now here there may be the some data centered architecture, okay, like here this data in their center, and there is the some extraction of information from the data center. And this one is the possibility, that is the layered architecture that we talk about here, that we have to define architecture into different layers. So these are the some of the example. Apart from that, there are the many other type of the architectural style, like the pipe and filter, blackboard style, and so on. Now, the one thing is that this architecture's experience that here play an important role in developing an architecture. Okay, so here if architecture have any bad experience from their past project, so he or she can avoid those particular functionalities. Or if the architecture have the some, you can say, the good experience from the previous their functionality of the previous project, so he can include that particular functionalities. And here is also this architecture experience many of the time can change a customer requirement. Let's suppose that if a customer come with some specific requirement to this particular software architecture, and here if architecture suggests that if you make this software in such a way, and here this will be more beneficial, so according to that the customer can change their requirement. So here this is what the architecture experience play very important role. And here whatever the experience of the architecture, so he can use all their previous experience into their current project, either that is the good or bad. Bad thing can be avoided and good thing can be added. So here again, that if we say this architecture of a house, that again a very simple example. So we have to think about many things. We can not only think about here, this is this room, this is this room, and so on. We also have to think about the rooms. This is the first thing. Then we also have to think from the electrical wiring, that where this particular wiring will go. We also have to think from the plumbing. We also have to think for the ventilation. So there are various criteria that here we have to decide when we go for developing an architecture. So in the same way, when we go for developing a software architecture, so we simply cannot say that this is the one component, this is the another component, and this component is providing services to this component. Here is also that just as example given here in the room, that we have to think for the electrical wiring, plumbing, or ventilation. So here we have to think so many things, like here the business strategy that we talked in the previous figure, that the business strategy, what is the infrastructure of that organization, what the human expertise available in that organization, everything is here has to be considered in the architecture development. So here it is about the software architecture. Now here this is the simple diagram of the architecture business cycle. So here this is the architecture's influence, that is the stakeholder. Okay. Here this is their own personal experience, then the technical environment, and there is the architecture experience. So here based on that it creates the architecture, and based on the architecture a system is created. And if there is any flaw in the system, again here it will come to this revision side, and again here the things will be revised into the architecture, and again here we will go for the some feedback system. So here this is the architecture business cycle. Now here that if we have the different type of the diagram, and here in architecture we have to deal with the different type of here you can say the non-functional properties. So here that there are the different non-functional properties. Like suppose that here if you have to go for the performance, that if you have to study the performance of a system, so here we have to go for the inter-component communication. Okay. If we have to check the modifiability, so here we have to understand what are the component responsibilities. Here, if we have to go for the security, so we have to understand the inter-component communication or the specialized component. If we go for the scalability, so we have to go for the localization of the resources. If we go to this ability to subset, so here we have to study the inter-component usage. Here, if we go for the reusability, so we have to go for the inter-component coupling. So here, when we go for the simulation, so first we have to decide that which particular criteria on the basis of which we are going to decide that which particular design is going to be better. So suppose that here we have the 3 architecture, and here we have to decide that which one architecture is better as compared to the 2. So here is what we go for the simulation. But there must be some criteria for the simulation. So here this is that if you suppose that if we want to check the performance criteria, so we cannot go to check for the scalability or the reusability. For the performance, we must have to study the inter-component communication. Similarly, if we go for the modifiability, so we must have to go for a component responsibilities, so on. So here we have to check that what are the possible architecture and what are the possible criteria for which this architecture is need to be tested. And for different type of the, you can say the functionality, there are different type of the examination method. And based on this particular examination method, we can decide that this particular architecture is performing better based on this particular criteria. Now here the one thing is that this architecture influences the qualities but does not guarantee them. So this is for any system. जैसे अगर आप if you are making the architecture of a house, so here you can influence the qualities, but here you cannot guarantee because you do not have the control on the later stage. Suppose that you make a good architecture, but the contractor make a bad design, or a contractor make a bad house. So what you can do? But here the one thing is that at the architecture level, here you can decide that what the qualities are actually required into the system, and that here you can include it here into the architecture level. Now here this architecture here divides all changes here into the 3 classes. That is the local, that is modifying a single component, non-local, that modifying several components, and architectural, that is the modifying the graph system topology. Okay. Now here this architecture may have the different views also. That different person see this particular analyze this particular architecture from their own perspective. The one perspective here is the data flow view. This data flow view, we just check that how the data flow from this one end to the another end. Like if you take a simple example of a banking system, so suppose that a clerk is there, okay, a manager is there, and here this branch manager is there. Okay, suppose that here if you have to withdraw the money, so here you are here as the customer. So what you will do, you will submit the request to the clerk. So this is what how the data is flowing from the one component to the another component. Now this clerk here will check for the authentication of this particular person, then again check for this account balance, and for signature verification it will send it to this manager. Here manager will verify the signature. If everything is fine, again the request will come back from the manager to the clerk and from clerk to this particular customer, and money will be withdrawn. Now if there is any issue, so here this manager will send this request to the higher authority, then higher authority resolve this particular problem. Again here it will come to this higher authority, to this manager, to this clerk, and here to the customer. So this is what this data flow view, how the data flow from the one component here into this another component. The same example we can understand like library management system, that if we go to withdraw the book. So again here this withdraw the book, there is, you can say, the student or teacher, again there is the clerk, there is the librarian. And the same thing here it shows that how this data flow from this, you can say this, here this account user to this clerk, here to this librarian, again this librarian to here and this. So this is the one way to analyze the software based on their flow of the data. This is the one example. Now there is the another example, the usage view, that what are the different components that are involved in that particular architecture. So here we not emphasize on the flow of the data, but here the main emphasis is here that what are the main components that are required for that particular this architecture. Like here we can say we require the one extended computer, we require application data type, here we require a device interface, here we require the some internal processing, then here we require the some shared services, some functional services, and here the software utilities at all the level here. Okay, so here this does not show this this flow of the data in the system, but it mainly says that what are the main components that we require. Like here if we go for the library management system, so here we can say that what are the main tables we require, what are the main users we require, what are the infrastructure we require, what are the network services we are required. So here this is here known as the usage view, that how to use a particular system. So here I have just given the example of the two views, but there are so many views are possible, and every person can check the architecture according to their own way. Okay, now this one thing that we need to understand, that at the earlier time this architecture were the monolithic structure, that here we have this one structure at a time, that here we have this one component and so on. Now here is that this most of the architecture here, this service oriented concept. So this service oriented concept here is what, that suppose that here if you see the assembled computer, so in assembled computer what you have the separate monitor, you have the separate motherboard, you have the separate RAM, separate hard disk, memory system, and so on. So all the component can be developed together, and here if you assemble it, and you can make it here as the computer system. So the same concept that also brought here into the software development, that there are the different libraries, okay, and here the different components are stored here into the different library. Like suppose that some component are here in this library, some component are in this library, and so on. So components are already developed and they are stored here into the different library. So whenever we have to develop the software, suppose that we have to develop this software, so we will not go from the scratches. We will take this component from this library, this component from this library, this component from this library, and just like as an assembled computer, an assembled software will be ready. So nowadays, the concept of the architecture is changed, and it becomes this more in a distributive nature, that we have the different software here into the different places. It might be that some component in your near places, some component in a remote places like USA or the some other countries. So whenever you develop the software, you take the different component from the different places. So here this architecture will be, here you can see the distributed architecture. And nowadays here we are using this microservices. That is the same thing, that here we have the processor and core. That we have the processor, now here we have the core inside the processor. So here this microservices is the smaller size of the services. Okay, and again here by combining these services, we can develop this particular services. So here I just give you a small example by taking this cyber security architecture here as an example, that how here we can start with this processing. The first thing here is that if we go for the simulation technique, so first we should know that what the property we are going to simulate and how we will simulate this thing. So first we have to understand the system property. So if we're not able to understand the system properly, we cannot say that this particular architecture is good or bad in this particular aspect. So here I just give you I just take a simple domain example, that is the cyber security architecture. So here the cyber security architecture here is that This cyber security architecture specifies the organizational structure, standards, okay, policies and functional behavior of a computer network, including both security and network feature. So when we go for any type of the cyber security feature, so this cyber security feature has there what? That has this network feature, and there is the software that are going to use in that network feature. Okay, so here if we say the cyber security architecture, so here we have to specify the behavior of a computer network, including both the security aspect and here the network feature also. Like here, suppose that if we want to transfer some functionality from the one system to this another system, so first there may be the some network feature that we can transfer the data from this that we transfer the data from this component to this component. Yes, first there must be a network facility. Now here if we have the network facility, so then after we have the some security feature, and then here we have to say that this is the network feature, and based on this network feature we must have the security features. So this cyber security architecture also the manner in which various components of your cyber or computer systems are organized, synchronized and integrated. So here this security architecture helps to position the security controls and breach countermeasures and how they relate to the overall system frameworks of your company. Okay, and here is also that first we have to define, as I told you, that what is the main motivation of this particular architecture that we are going to simulate. So here if we go for the security domain, so in security domain the main here this motivation here is the confidentiality, integrity and availability. That whatever architecture we develop, that architecture must have the confidentiality feature, that architecture must have the integrity feature, and that architecture must have the availability feature. So we have to emphasize on these particular parameters. So the main purpose of this control is to maintain your critical systems quality attribute and whatever the attribute that's required at that particular time. Like here, if you go for the some other domain, some other criteria may be required. And it's also the synergy between hardware and software knowledge with programming proficiency, research skill, and policy development. Like here, we can say this if you go for the security here. So in security, we cannot rely on here this component, this hardware or software. We also have to make the some policy. So we make the various type of the policy decision like this login software here. Here is the one type of the concept of the policy development. So here this policy development is also a part of this architecture development. So most organizations are exposed to this cyber security threats, but a cyber security architecture plan help you to implement and monitor your company's network security system. So here the same is that you can implement the security picture at the initial phase of the software development, and at the architecture time you can decide that how the security can be here fused here into this architecture. So a cyber security architecture framework positions all your security controls against any form of malicious actors and how they relate to your overall system architecture. Okay, now essentially this cyber security architecture is that part of computer network architecture that relates to all aspects of security. So here that we say that if we go for cyber security architecture, we have to think for the standards and frameworks, security and networks element, procedural and policy related elements. Now here we have to concentrate on these 5 points that identify, protect, detect, respond and recover. So here if we have to develop the cyber security system for a particular organization, so first here we have to identify that what are the main component for which security is required. Like here if we go for the banking system, so in banking system we have to identify that which component require more security, which component require less security. So first step here is the identify, that we have to identify the component for which type of this, for which this particular security is required. It should not happen that here if we have the 100 component, so all the 100 component require the security feature. It never happens. So here if we have the 100 components, so out of the 100 components, there are the 5 or 10 components that require the actual security feature. So first we have to identify those components that actually require the security features here. Okay. Like here, if you say this ATM example, in ATM example, there are a lot of features. But here, if you go for the withdraw the money, so there are more level of the checking. But here, if you want to make the some other type of the testing, some other type of the features, there may be the less type of the security. So it depends on this which function require more security. So the first thing is that we have to identify the component which require this more this requirement of security. The another thing here is the protect, that what type of the protection we require to apply on that component. So suppose that here we have the 5 component A, B, C, D and E. So both all the 5 components may not have of the same criticality. Some component may have this less critical, some component may have the more critical. So we cannot apply the same type of the protection system for all type of the component. So first we have to identify the component, and then we have to decide that what type of the protection system that should be applied on that particular component. So suppose that if A, B, C, D, E, this A and D are the more critical, so we'll apply the more protection label. C and D are the less critical, so we apply the less this protection label. So here the first step is identify the component. Second step here is the apply the protection label. And the third step is the detection of this possible threat events. That what are the possible threat events? Like here, if we are going to use the ATM, so we have to identify that what are the possible events that may happen. That someone may forge your signature, someone may hamper your particular account balance, and so on. So here we have to identify the possible threats or the possible events that may hamper your particular software. Okay. So here, this is the third thing. Now, next thing here is that the respond, that if suppose that any activity occur here in the system, then how your system will respond. So suppose that here is someone have forged your signature. So how the system should respond? So system should, you can say the system should identify this forge action. So this next label that we say, that suppose that if this activity happen, then how the system should respond. And the last thing here is that if something happen, then how the system will recover from this particular thing. So here the main thing, that first we have to identify the component. Then according to the criticality of the component, we can apply the protection label. Then we have to identify the possible threats. Then we have to identify this, if particular threats are applied, then what the response of the system, and finally how the system will be recovered from these possible threats. So these we have to go, then we can start this developing a architecture here. So here this is the one possible framework, that is here known as the NIST cybersecurity framework, that has this identify, protect, detect, respond and recover stages. Now here this is what that we have defined the strategy here. The next thing here is that we have to identify the component and their relationship here. So like here, if we go for this library management system, so here we have to identify the component. That one component that will be the book, one component that may be the searching scheme, the one component that may be this librarian, one component there will be the clerk, one component what are the hardware requirement, what are the software requirement, what are the other requirement, and so on. So here if we go for development of architecture for a cyber security architecture, so first we have to identify the different component. Like here we have the network elements. So this network nodes we have to identify that what are the different network nodes. Then here we have the network communication protocol that we have to identify that which protocol will be used here. Then the network connections between the node using specific protocols. and the network topology that are going to be used. That may be the point-to-point, circular, star, and so on. After network element, we have to identify the security element. That what the security element we require. So this cyber security devices here, like the firewall, etc. Then the cyber security software that we use, like this antivirus software and so on. This network communication protocols that we are, the secure network communication protocol that we are using. So here, this security, there may be a separate security software, or it might be possible that you introduce the security concept into the existing protocol. So this is the example that we have the separate cyber security software, or this is the another example that you have introduced the security feature here into this existing this protocol here. And here we also require the strong encryption techniques like the end-to-end encryption. So these are the security element that here we require for a system. Now here we have this framework and standard here we require. Okay, that what are the framework here? That is the cyber security software choices are the standard. And finally here we have the procedure and policies, that we have to make the policies that who can use the system, who cannot use the system, which person have this level of the accessibility, which person have this level of accessibility, and so on. So here we have to identify the network element, then we have to identify the security element, then here we have to identify the security framework, and here this security policies. Okay, so here this is the small example that shows that how the different component can be fixed at the different places. Like here we require the security at this particular level, and here we can fix this anti-software attack system, firewall, and this system and this system. So first we have to identify the component, we have to understand their relationship. Based on that, we can develop an architecture. Means first we have to establish an objective. That what is the objective? Like here this cyber security architecture, this confidentiality and integrity may be the objective. Then here we have to determine the approach, that which architecture design approach we are taking. Then here we go for security architecture plan, we develop the architecture, and here we review and revise. So if there is some flaw in the architecture, so here we will provide the feedback, and again this cycle will start. Okay, so here this is the example security architecture here, that at the developer level we can provide this security, the token management, certificate management, policy management, RBAC management, and user management. Okay, at the application level, here the software level, we can go for the authentication, authorization, policy enforcement, traffic management, login and auditing, and so on. At the threat protection level, we can use this type of the software here. So here is what that by making this architecture, now here we can clear कि जब आप यूजर डेवलपमेंट बनाए तो you have to apply this feature. At the software level, you have to apply this feature, and for the threat protection, you have to apply this particular thing. So here, this is an example security architecture. So here I just try to make you understand that what is the software architecture and what are the main component of a software architecture, and how we can develop an architecture. That I have given this example of this cyber security, that how we can develop an architecture for a cyber security. Now here I just talk about this. There are various type of this architecture modeling and simulation tool. I just give you a very brief example of two tools for this architecture modeling and simulation tool. So the first tool here, that is here known as the Colored Patrinet. So that we know that Colored Patrinets provide a modeling framework suitable for simulating distributed and concurrent processes with both synchronous and asynchronous communication. Okay, so here the one thing is that a CPN model is an executable representation of a system, that you can make a system and you can also execute a system to check any particular property. So suppose that here if you make a 3 model, so you can execute all the 3 model, and you can check the results, that which one model is better for which particular prospect. So through simulation of a CPN model, it is possible to examine and explore various scenarios and behavior. That here if we have more than one architecture, So with the help of the CPN, we can simulate those architecture, and here we can get an idea that which particular architecture works better in this particular cases. So the SpectriNets provide the foundation for modeling concurrency, communication, and synchronization. And here is also, it has the high level programming language support. Means you can write some function or the program as you are able to write here into the high level language like C, C++ or Java. Okay. Now this CPN also provide this hierarchical manner here is that suppose that if you have some bigger component and in the same page you are not able to make that particular architecture. So what you can say, first you can create a black box architecture, like suppose that we have the 3 component. So 1 component, 2 component, 3 component. Then we go for the detailed design of this component into the another way, detailed design of this component into the another page, and detailed design of this component into the another page. And here in final page, you can see this combined behavior of all these 3 components because they are connected to each other. So in CPN, this color patronate architecture here, we have this hierarchical feature that you can represent the component into the hierarchical feature and study their behavior. And here we have this various type of the tools. So one, this very famous tool that is here known as the CPN tools, and this color patronate tools, that is the graphical software tools to used to create, edit, simulate, and analyze the models. So this CPN tool here has the graphical editor that allows the user to create and arrange the various patronate components here. So here this colored patronate here is based on the concept of the resources and transitions here. So here there is the 2 things, that the place, and here you can see this transition. So here this places that is here represent the resources, and the transition here that is the activity. So in a simple language, here we can say that if we have the resources, the sufficient resources, then only this particular activity can be performed. So here this is the basis of the patronate, that is this resources and here the activity. And here we cannot draw a relationship between these 2 resources or 2 activity. The one thing is that resources to this transition, then transition to this another resources. That if we have the sufficient resources, then this activity will happen. Otherwise, this activity will not happen. And then from this transition to this activity. So this patronate event itself is the very big topic. I am just give you a very brief introduction so that we can you can get a very basic idea of a patronate. Okay. Now here we require the tokens here. So if you are seeing this black dot, so this black dot say this number of the resources. So here you can say number of the resources is the 1. If we have the 2 black dots, so here you can say number of the resources is the 2. So these tokens are used to indicate whether certain conditions have been met so that a transition may fire. So in pictorial representation, tokens are indicated by a black dots. So here you can say we have the black dot, that is the some condition that are applied on the resources. Okay. This arc that may be labeled by the weight, which can specify the number of tokens needed for a transition to fire. If omitted, a value of 1 is assumed. And here is also that places could represent a resource status or operations. Arc often represent the flow of data or resources. So this transition could represent this start and finish of processes. When the conditions on the incoming arc of a transition are met by its pre-places, the transition is said to be enabled. Means here we can say if we have the sufficient resources, then this particular process transition will be enabled or activated. So if you see this example, this is a very simple example that it is 2H2 plus O2 equal to 2H2O. So here we have these 3 hydrogen resources, 2 oxygen resources. So here for this process to be enabled, here what we require the 2 hydrogen resources and 1 oxygen resource, that is the molecule here. So if we have the 2 molecule of hydrogen, 1 molecule of oxygen, so here we can create water here. But suppose that if there is only one resources here, suppose that we do not have this, we have the one oxygen and one hydrogen. So here in that case, this particular activity will not be enabled, or this transition will not be enabled. So this transition will only be enabled if we have the sufficient resources here. So based on that, we have created this criteria of the color patronage. And since in architecture, there are various type of the activities. So this color patronage support various type of the activities. Like here, if we have the sequential activities, that output here, this one output become this input of another and so on. We have the concurrent activities, that here if suppose that two activities are taking place in a parallel manner, so here there is the support for concurrent activities. Suppose that there is some choice like the if else activity, so here we can also we have the support for choice statement. We have the synchronous communication, like suppose that P1 and P2 performing this function, this P1 and P3 performing this function P2, P4. So that we can also here check into this color patronage. Or here this asynchronous communication, that this output of this become the input of this communication. So that can also be shown here into this asynchronous communication. Similarly, suppose that if an activity is going to be divided into the two activity, or two activity join at this particular activity and so on, are the mutual exclusion, that there are the two activity, but at a time only one activity will take place. Means here the idea is that we can apply this various type of the activity here into the color patronage, because in software architecture we require this various type of the activities. So this is the one very simple example, a reservation system. So there are the three reservation system in a parallel: the vehicle reservation system, okay, the food reservation, this room reservation system, and airlines reservation system. So there are the three parallel processes, okay, and all the parallel processes are combined here, okay, and then here we have this check reservation, and then here if the reservation this ready to reservation, or if the reservation is available, then we go for this payment processing. If the payment is successfully done, then this process is complete. Otherwise this process will go here. So this is a very simple example I have chosen for you, that how this patronage can use for this particular architecture. So if there is some problem at this particular level, so this transition will not be enabled. So in this way, a architecture can be verified. Here, this is the CPN tool example. That this CPN here is the color patronage, and here this is the graphical tool here. And here you can see we have this various type of the option: create, declare, hierarchy, net, and something. And here we have this editor here, and here we can create all this particular symbol. And here also I just want to show you this particular simulation here. That here we can this is the executable software. So here we can execute this particular portion, that how this different patronage is going to be simulate. So here this is the example of a patronage. Here this example patronage, that suppose that here we have the inventory order. Okay, so here this inventory order, we go for the inventory check. Suppose that if we are buying something the online and we have ordered something, so first this order will be checked. If that is available in the this particular your database, then here we can proceed for the make payment. If that item is not available in database, so payment should not be activated. So this is what this process we can simulate here. Similarly here, if there is the valid address and address list, if the customer is already enrolled, so the address, valid address will be checked and so on. So this is what for different type of the activity, this particular architecture can be simulated. And as I told you earlier, there's just like at this high level language, we also have this integer, string, and different type array. So we can create the different type of the function. So it makes you easy to create this particular architecture. Now the another thing here is that is the ADL, that is the architecture analysis and design language. So this ADL standard provides formal modeling concept for the description and analysis of application system architecture. in terms of distinct components and their interactions. So this AADL is especially effective for this model-based analysis and specification of complex real embedded time systems. So this in AADL, what we can model all type of the message passing, the event passing, the synchronized access to the shared component, thread scheduling protocol, timing requirements, or remote procedure call. Okay. In addition, this dynamic reconfiguration of runtime architectures can be specified using operational mode and mode transitions. So here, as we know that generally architecture, what we say that here, this is the one component, this is the another component, and here we specify the component and this property of the component and property of the link. So in the same way here, we have the different component feature, and we have the different, here you can say the link feature. Like here component feature, we can make the data, subprogram, thread group, process, memory, device, and here, and we also have the port system. So port is used for this linking. So we have this linking feature, and here we have the component feature. So again, here there is the software available, and this software, these are the notation of the different activities like the data, process, thread group, thread, subprogram, system. So with the help of these notations here, we can make this diagram. So first that we have to identify the component, then we have to identify their relationship, and then we have to instantiate the system, and then we can add the system property. So here, this is that how we can add this system quality and attribute analysis. I just want to give a brief here this brief idea of this simulation here, that how this simulation take place. So yeah, this was just an example that how this particular this software works here for this analysis and simulation of architecture. So this is the one example architecture that are created for online banking system, that here we have the different component like the withdraw money, deposit money, loan system, and how the different components are connected to each other. So here we can make this various type of the analysis here with this ADL architecture, that we can also apply this, check it for the fault tree analysis, that we can check different type of the faults that may exist here into the system with the help of the fault tree analysis. Similarly, here we can also make the fault impact analysis, that what are the possible type of the fault and their impact here into the different component here. Here we can also go for the functional hazard assessment, that what level of the hazard a particular component can make here into the system. So these are the some of the examples that I have given, but there are so many things here that you can check with this particular system. So if you are interested here this architecture level work, so you can use. So here these are the some references that I have used for this preparation of these slides here. And here this is from my side. So if you have any question, so you can ask it. So this is over from my side. So if there is any questions, so I'm ready to answer.
So, any questions or queries from the participants?
Okay, I think there is no questions.
So, I would like to thank Dr. Ratneshwar ji for very nice presentation, and we learned lots of things from your experience. And in future, I think we will invite you for more such motivational lecture. Then we will share also our experience and for the simulation and research methodology.
Okay. Okay, Dr.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
I'll
very
leave
much
this meeting.
for giving your time for us. So, dear participants, so